जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरि बोल। जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा नित्य गौर हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल। हरे कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati ruttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. We are reading from Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 9, verse number 53 through 55. What we'll do is, for 53 and 54, there are no purports, so I'll read the verse and the translation. For 55, we'll read the full, we'll do the recitation and all. Text number 53. Dadhyannatharvanastvashtre varmabhedyam madatmakam vishwarupaya yat pradat tvashcha yatvam madhastataha. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The Adhyansha's invisible protective covering, known as the Narayan Kavach, was given to Tvashta, who delivered it to his son Vishwarup, from whom you have received it. Because of this Narayan Kavach, the Dichi's body is now very strong. You should therefore beg him for his body. Yushmabhyam yachitoshvebhyam dharmagnyongani dasyati tatastair ayudha shreshto vishwakarma vinirmitaha yena vrita shiro harta matteja upabramhitaha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. When the Ashwini Kumaras beg for the Adhyansha's body on your behalf, he will surely give it because of affection. Do not doubt this, for the Adhyansha is very experienced in religious understanding. When the Adhyansha awards you his body, Vishwakarma will prepare a thunderbolt from his bones. This thunderbolt will certainly kill Vritrasura, because it will be invested with my power. Text number 55, we can recite the way we normally do. Tasmin vinihate yuyam tejostrayuda sampadaha bhuya prapsata bhadram vo na himsanti chamatparan. Tasmin vinihate yuyam tejostrayuda sampadaha bhuya prapsata bhadram vo na himsanti chamatparan. Tasmin vinihate yuyam tejostrayuda sampadaha bhuya prapsata bhadram vo na himsanti chamatparan. Tasmin vinihate yuyam tejostrayuda sampadaha bhuya prapsata bhadram vo na himsanti chamatparan. Tasmin vinihate yuyam tejostrayuda sampadaha bhuya prapsata bhadram vo na himsanti chamatparan. Matajis. Tasmin vinihate yuyam tejostrayuda sampadaha bhuya prapsata bhadram vo na himsanti chamatparan. Hare Krishna. Word for word meaning. Tasmin, when he, Vritrasura. Okay. Tasmin, okay. When he, Vritrasura, Vinihate, is killed. Yuyam, all of you. Tejaha, power. Astra, arrows. Ayudha, other weapons. Sampadaha, and opulence. Bhuya, again. Prapsatha, will obtain. Bhadram, all good fortune. Vaha, unto you, na, not, himsanti, hurt, cha, also, matparan, my devotees. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When Vritrasura is killed because of my spiritual strength, you will regain your strength, weapons and wealth. Thus, there will be all good fortune for all of you. Although Vritrasura can destroy all the three worlds, do not fear that he will harm you. He is also a devotee and will never be envious of you. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A devotee of the Lord is never envious of anyone. What to speak of other devotees? As revealed later, Vritrasura was also a devotee. Therefore, he was not expected to be envious of the demigods. Indeed, of his own accord, he will try to benefit the demigods. A devotee does not hesitate to give up his own body for a better cause. Chanakya Pandit said, Sannimitte varam tyago vinashe niyate sati. After all, one's material possessions, including his body, will be destroyed in due course of time. Therefore, if the body and other possessions can be utilized for a better cause, a devotee never hesitates to give up even his own body. Because Lord Vishnu wanted to save the demigods, Vritrasura, even though able to swallow the three worlds, would agree to be killed by the demigods. For a devotee, there is no difference between living and dying, because in this life, a devotee engages in devotional service, and after giving up his body, he engages in the same service in the spiritual world. His devotional service is never hindered. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 9th chapter, 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Appearance of the Demon Vritrasura. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Desha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Krupa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Tandoor Pranams. Welcome all of you to today morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. In this grand assembly, I see so many wonderful, great exalted devotees who are my Shiksha Gurus, who I'm expecting blessings from, seeking blessings from all the Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, all the devotees assembled here, so that I may speak something that is in line with the teachings of Srila Prabhupada and pleasing to the Vaishnavas. Begging all of you to please bless me. I need your blessings to speak, and I'm pleasing so that I can get your blessings. So we are on a very important section of Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, so many devotees tell me that this pastime of the conflict between Indra and Vritrasur, this is one of their favorite pastimes from the entire Bhagavatam. Such a wonderful incident being narrated over here. Bhagavatam in its entirety, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he called it the Amala Purana. Amala Purana. Amala, what is Mala? Mala means contamination. Amala means which is completely free from contamination. What is contamination? Anything material, actually it is contaminating, right? And anything spiritual, that is completely pure, right? So, Bhagavatam is completely spiritual Purana, which means that it is completely free from any kind of material contamination. Srila Prabhupada has given us such a wonderful understanding of what is material and what is spiritual. Anything that can be used in the service of the Lord is spiritual. And anything that is used for personal enjoyment, for personal sense gratification, that is material. Srila Prabhupada often used to give the example of a microphone, of a dictaphone. Is the microphone spiritual or the microphone is material? He said it depends on for what purpose we are using it. If this microphone is used in the service of the Lord, it is spiritual. If it is used for personal enjoyment, it is material. Same applies to anything of this world, right? Whether it is cars, aeroplanes. It applies to gross things. It also applies to very, very subtle items, very, very subtle objects. In the very beginning of Krishna consciousness, we understand that we are spiritual beings, we are spirit souls. And actually speaking, the only thing that the soul can do is desire. The only thing that actually the soul can do is desire. So our desires, they can either be engaged in the service of the Lord, we can either have desires to serve the Lord, or we can have desires for personal enjoyment. And that is what determines whether our desires are also material or spiritual. There's a very nice pastime. Srila Prabhupada, he was in Los Angeles and he was going for morning walk with many of his devotees. So mostly the senior devotees would accompany Srila Prabhupada in his morning walks. And in this morning walk, Srila Prabhupada, all the senior devotees were there and they were asking all kinds of questions related to various topics from Srila Prabhupada. And there was one particular devotee, he kept completely quiet. He did not ask a single question. Later on, when the morning walk was over and Srila Prabhupada had entered his car, he was about to close the door of the car. All of a sudden, with folded hands, this devotee came between Srila Prabhupada and the door and he asked Srila Prabhupada, what is required in order to become Krishna conscious? And Srila Prabhupada answered it with just one word, desire. The only thing that is required to be Krishna conscious, he said, is desire. So this pastime is so amazing. This pastime of the conflict between Indra and Vritrasura is so amazing. If we think about, see from the translations and purpose, right, it is clear that a big battle is about to begin, right? There is preparation for the weapons and who is going to be victorious. Lord Narayan, he is himself telling the demigods, right, who is going to be victorious, how to prepare the weapons. It is very apparent that a big conflict, that a big battle is about to begin. Now, when we think about any story, right, whether it is a mundane story, whether it is spiritual story, right, usually there are some conceptions we have, right, about the hero and about the villain. Usually, in novels and all, what you find is the hero is usually a very good-looking, handsome person, right? He is surrounded by all the wonderful associates who have wonderful qualities. They're excellent in behavior, right? They do a lot of good activities and all, right? And the villain is the one who is very ugly, right? The way he is shown is he is very ugly and he could be deformed and, right? Not known for any good behavior and all of that, right? Now, in this pastime, the amazing thing, the really amazing thing is that this is a conflict between, from the Bhagavatam's perspective, clearly it is Vritrasur who is the hero in this whole pastime, right? It is Vritrasur who is the hero and we'll say Indra is the contender. I will not call him villain, right? He is the contender. So in this pastime we find that the hero, he does not have the qualities that normally are expected from a hero in terms of looking good and all of that, right? It's just the opposite. But there is one thing in this hero which makes him more exalted than any other personality, right? This hero, he transcends any other aspects, any other qualities that are expected from a normal hero. And this one aspect of this hero, it trumps any other considerations that we have in terms of hero and contender, right? And that is, what is the desire of this hero? What is the desire of this hero? So, usually when we are in school and all, right, we understand, right, we learn opposites. What is the opposite of good? Bad. right? What is the opposite of best? Worst, right? Here, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we gradually learn. Initially, we understand that the opposite of the best, what is the best? Pure devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the best. Initially, we understand what is the opposite of the best is the worst, right? Grossly sinful activities and all, they are really, really bad, right? But as we get deeper into Krishna consciousness, we understand that what actually comes in the way of pure devotional service, what actually comes in the way of the best is not the worst, but what is something less than the best, something that could just be good, something that could be contaminated, that is something good that is contaminated with bad. So it is this contaminated, this impure, this mixed devotion that often comes in the way of pure devotion. And this pastime conflict between Indra and Vritarasura, this is such an amazing conflict which actually shows, right, that the enemy in this case, the enemy of the best is actually what is good. So we'll briefly discuss the context, right, what has brought to this particular verses, to this particular set of verses, and then we will Hare Krishna, Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra ki jai, Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Darshan Dev ki jai, Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. So this pastime, it begins with Indra, who is seated in his assembly. Indra, he is Shatakruta, right? He has performed hundreds of sacrifices. He is seated in an assembly. He is worshipped practically by all the best of demigods, Siddhas, Charanas, Vidyadharas, right? And in that assembly, there comes his guru, the guru of all the demigods, Brihaspati. And Indra, he does not show any respect. He does not welcome his guru. And because of this, Brihaspati, who understands that Indra is suffering from pride and he knows what is going to happen. It is usually said that pride cometh before a fall. But then in devotee circle, we understand that if you are proud, you are already fallen. What happens after that is only a detail. So, Brihaspati understood that Indra is fallen and he knew what is going to happen. So he simply left from that place. And Indra, he immediately understood that I have made a big blunder, I have made a big mistake. He condemned himself in the strongest of words. He tried his best to look for Brihaspati. But Brihaspati, who is spiritually superior to Indra, he had disappeared and the demigods could not find him. Since the demigods were bereft of their guru, the demons took advantage of the situation. They took full shelter of their guru, attacked the demigods, and actually conquered the thrones. They conquered the palace and everything of the demigods, and the demigods were bereft of anything. So the demigods in that situation went to Brahma, took shelter of Lord Brahma, and asked him what they should do. And Brahma told, first of all, he chastised them that you should never have disrespected your guru, you have made a big offense. But now, he said, you can take help from Vishwarupa. Vishwarupa is a very exalted Brahmana, and he will definitely help you regain your opulence. So, but Brahma warns them that you have to tolerate his lenience towards the demons. He will help you, but he is also lenient towards the demons. If you are able to tolerate it, you can take help from him. And the demigods, they readily go, they approach Vishwarupa, they plead to him with choicest words, and Vishwarupa actually he engages himself with full vigor in the service of the demigods. He gives them the beautiful Narayan Kavacha shield, which is a protective mantra made of the wonderful names of Lord Narayan. And taking help from the yajnas that Vishwarupa performs and taking help from Narayan Kavach, the demigods headed by Indra are actually able to defeat the demons and they are able to regain their kingdom. But the problems of Indra, see, he condemned himself for not worshipping, for not properly respecting his guru, but he did not rectify his mentality, which is why those problems will keep coming again and again. Once he noticed that Vishwarupa is secretly offering oblations to the demons in addition to the demigods, and he became so insecure, he became so angry with Vishwarupa for doing that he immediately beheaded Vishwarupa, who was actually faultless, he was sinless, but Indra beheaded him. And Indra, he also has good qualities. He could have counteracted that problem also, that sin also, but he did not do that. He suffered reactions for 1 full year, and then he came back. But the father of Vishwarupa, the great sage Twashta, he did not forgive Indra. And by his mystic powers, by his yoga siddhis, by his advanced mystic powers, he created a wonderful yajna from which came Vritrasura. And Vritrasura was so powerful. Vritrasura was born with the explicit aim of killing Indra. He was so powerful. I mean, na bhuto na bhavishyati. The whole world has not seen a demon like Vritrasura, and probably it will never see a demon like Vritrasura. He was so powerful all the demigods, they attacked him with all of their weapons, and with a single bite, he swallowed all of their weapons. So then the demigods, they did not know what to do. When a person is in danger, what does he do, right? Pretty much their lives, they felt their lives were at risk. They took shelter of Lord Vishnu. They took shelter of Lord Vishnu, and they recite choicest of prayers in supplication. They recite choicest of prayers in glorification of Lord Vishnu, and request Lord Vishnu to bless them, to protect them from this, to help them kill Vritrasura. And here, Lord Vishnu is responding to their prayers. Initially, Lord Vishnu says that by pleasing me, you can get anything, including pure devotional service, including going back home, back to Godhead. But anyway, this is what you want, so this is how you can get it, right? So he gives the way by which they can regain their opulence. And what is he saying? You should approach the sage Dadhyancha or Dadhichi Muni, who will give his own body, and from that body you can create the Vajra, which you can use to kill Vritrasur. And Vishnu is telling them one more thing. Don't worry that Dadhyancha will not give you his body because he is a pure devotee, and don't worry that Vritrasur will harm you because he is also a pure devotee. So the Lord is telling the demigods, right, that Vritrasur himself is a pure devotee. Now, Vritrasura, he himself has a past. He himself has a past. Vritrasura in his past life, he was a great king named Chitraketu, right? Initially, King Chitraketu was completely engrossed in kingly behavior, right? He was completely satisfied in his kingdom and he wanted a son. He was desperate to have a son. He had many wives, but he did not have a son. So he prayed, when Angira Muni came there, he prayed to Angira to obtain a son. And by the blessings of Angira, he got a son whom Angira Muni had told him he will be the cause of both happiness and lamentation for him. So Chitraketu, he got a son whom he named Harshashoka, but because of the neglect of his other wives who did not have a child, this boy was killed. And because of that shock, Chitraketu completely, he was in such a state of shock. In that state, when Narada Muni and Angira Muni advised him to take to pure devotional service, when they brought the dead son back to life and asked him to tell the spiritual truths, Chitraketu was so transformed, he took so heartily to devotional service that immediately after that, he took so seriously to devotional service that by chanting the mantras given by Narada Muni, within 7 days, he went to the abode of Lord Sankarshan and he was able to have darshan of Lord Sankarshan. And then, as a side effect of his advancement, he became the king of the Vidyadharas. Now one day, as he was going in his airplane, he came across Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva was addressing a great assembly of very exalted sages, very pure sages, and he was talking on the process of renunciation. And along with Shiva, there was Mother Parvati, and Lord Shiva was embracing Mother Parvati. So, King Chitraketu, he did not actually want to offend Lord Shiva. He was actually trying to glorify Lord Shiva, that what an amazing pastime this is. But in the way he glorified, Mother Parvati took severe exception to that. She was very angry with the way Chitraketu behaved. And she cursed Chitraketu to become a demon. And see, the greatness of a person is to be estimated by his ability to tolerate provoking situation. What could be a more provoking situation for a devotee? That he is being condemned into the body of a demon. He is being condemned to become a demon. But in that situation, Chitraketu immediately comes down from his plane. He bows down to Mother Parvati. He says that actually I did not mean to offend Lord Shiva in any way, but I heartily accept your curse and I will readily go and become a devotee. And all the sages, and including Lord Shiva who are assembled there, they are so amazed by seeing this behavior of Chitraketu. At that time, Chitraketu says the famous verse. Lord Shiva says the famous verse. Narayana para sarve na kutascha na bibhyati swargapa varga narakeshu api tulyartha darshanam. That the devotees of Lord Narayan, the devotees who are completely surrendered to Lord Narayan, they are not afraid of any situation, whether they go back home, back to Godhead, whether they stay in the material world, whether they go to the hellish planets, it is all the same for them. This is exactly what Srila Prabhupada is explaining in his purport. For a devotee, there is no difference between living and dying, because in either case, the devotee is simply engaged in devotional service. Whether in this life or in the next life, the devotee is only interested in devotional service. So from this is the background, right, for this particular pastime. And there are some very valuable things that we can see as aspiring pure devotees. We all have aspiration for become pure devotees. I'm sure there are so many pure devotees. I at least have an aspiration for becoming a pure devotee. So, what are the valuable lessons? One is, what is the distinction between a pure devotee and a mixed devotee? In this case, Vritrasura is called out as a pure devotee, and Indra is a mixed devotee. And Srila Prabhupada in this translation and purport, he is giving two parameters which specifically call out, right, the difference between a pure devotee and a mixed devotee. Now somebody can ask, why are we saying that Indra is a mixed devotee, he is not a pure devotee? There are three things that have happened in this chapter itself, right, which shows that Indra is not free from envy. One of the parameters, a pure devotee is completely free from envy. Srila Prabhupada, he has created ISKCON, right? He has created ISKCON. This is a society, Srila Prabhupada says, called out many times, right? This is a society which is completely free from envy. Srila Prabhupada built a home in which the whole world can reside. What is the meaning of a home, right? People are not envious of each other, right? All the residents in one home, that is one characteristic of home, right? Nobody is envious of each other. We just accept each other as we are, right? And we make progress, we encourage each other, right? Srila Prabhupada created a home in which the whole world can live. Srila Prabhupada has created a society, right, which is completely free from envy. And why is it important to be, okay, so why are we saying that Indra has envy? There are three specific things that Indra did in this pastime. One is when oblations were offered to the demons, right, Indra became extremely angry. He became extremely, what we can say, he was thinking that this is a big threat for me, right? Any auspicious for the demons, right? He became extremely insecure, right? So that itself shows that he has envy for the demons. And okay, one may say that, okay, demons are anyways, right? They are always creating troubles, right? But his own guru, Vishwarup, who was acting on his behalf, who was acting for his benefit, right? He beheaded his own guru. Srila Prabhupada said that meat eating is actually an expression of envy towards the animals. Why? Animals have their own aspirations, animals have their own life, their body belongs to them, right? And we are killing them in order to eat their meat, right? Of course, not we, right? Those who eat meat, right? So, that is actually envy of the animals. So, what to speak about envy of Guru, right? This shows he has envy. And not only that, he has envy for his own subordinates also. Just a few verses ago, Ashwini Kumaras, they said that we want Brahma Gyan, we want spiritual knowledge. They approached Dadhyansha Muni, they approached Dadichi Rishi for spiritual knowledge. And Indra, he came and he warned Dadhyansha Rishi that you should not give them spiritual knowledge. And he said, in fact, threatened that if you give them spiritual knowledge, I will behead you. Right? Dadhyansha Rishi and Ashwini Kumaras, they were so intelligent. And we can see the exalted position of Dadhyansha Rishi also. For example, we understand, right? We are not the body, we are the soul. Right? We understand. But if somebody has to put an injection in our body, right? Immediately we tell the doctor, thoda sa dheere se lagana. If we are undergoing any surgery, right, especially major surgery, right, we ask all the devotees to pray, please pray, right? I'm going to go through intense pain, please pray for me and all, right? So in theory we understand, right? We are not the body, we are spirit soul. But in practice, right, we want to be safe, right? But here Dadhyansha Rishi, right, Ashwini Kumara said, we will replace your head with the head of a horse. Using that horse, you give us spiritual knowledge. And when Indra comes and he beheads you, at that time we will again replace it back. And Dadhyansha Muni immediately agreed. What does it show? He was completely on spiritual platform. He was not having any bodily consciousness at all. He readily agreed. So he took the body, he took the head of a horse, he gave them spiritual knowledge. And we can see, right, it does not matter whether you have the head of a horse or whatever. Spiritual knowledge is spiritual knowledge. So he gave them spiritual knowledge. And after that, right, they replaced his head. And again, right, when Indra came and he beheaded him, Ashwini Kumaras replaced him and Dadhyansha Muni was completely unaffected. Here it is mentioned that Dadhyansha Rishi himself had created the Narayan Kavach, which he gave it to Twashta, and Twashta gave it to Vishwarup. And by using that Narayan Kavach, Indra regained all the three opulences, the opulence of the three worlds. So, what must be the power of Dadhyansha Rishi, right? By the weapon, by the armor that he created, Indra is gaining, right? But Dadhyansha Rishi is not using it for his own enjoyment. He is continuing as a humble sage, right? He is simply continuing as a humble sage. First he used it to help Indra gain his opulence, and now he is going to use it to again help Indra regain his opulence. That's the only use he is having for this wonderful kavach that he is having. So we can see that Dadhyansha Rishi is completely free from envy. The Lord is saying that Vritrasura is completely free from envy. So Vritrasura is completely free from envy. Why? Even in the most difficult situation, right, when he has to fight against, he is obliged, he is compelled to fight against the demigods, He is not trying to harm them. He is only giving them good advice. He is giving them encouragement so that they can be victorious. He is completely free from envy, right? But Indra, we just saw, right? He has envy. So, this is what Srila Prabhupada is saying, right? Envy, the first characteristic, right? The characteristic of a pure devotee, what differentiates a pure devotee from a mixed devotee is a pure devotee is completely free from envy, whereas a mixed devotee will have envy or at least traces of envy. It is said that envy is actually, there are 6 anarthas: lust, greed, anger, envy, pride, illusion. It is said that envy is called the mother of all the anarthas. Why? Because we came to the material world. We were all in the spiritual world at one point in time. We came to the material world because of a kind of envy for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We wanted to be enjoyers like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And from envy, because of this envy, we are put into illusion. When a person is put into illusion, he imagines anything, right? I am Indra, I am this, I am that, right? Actually, a person is in illusion. We are all spirit souls, right? These are very, very temporary designations. But because of illusion, a person imagines all kinds of things and he develops pride, right? So from envy, illusion comes. From illusion comes pride. When a pride comes, then a person wants to enjoy, right? So trying to enjoy independent of the Lord, that is lust. When lust is fulfilled, a person becomes greedy. When lust is not fulfilled, a person becomes angry. So all the anarthas actually stem from envy. Envy is the root. Envy is the mother of all the anarthas. So, as we saw, the distinction between a pure devotee and a mixed devotee, right, is that pure devotee is completely free from envy and mixed devotee will have envy. The other difference that we are talking about between a pure devotee and a mixed devotee or a non-devotee, right, is what is the person willing to sacrifice? What is the person willing to sacrifice? There is a beautiful verse that comes in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Etavad janma safalyam tehinam iha dehishu pranir arthir dhiya vacha sheya archanam acharanam sada. Sheya acharanam sada. Thank you very much. So, in all ways, right, a noble person tries to benefit others, right, by pranir arthir dhiya vacha. Now, from this perspective, if we compare Indra and Vritrasura, as far as offering wonderful prayers to the Lord is concerned, Indra also offers wonderful prayers. Vritrasura also we will see later on, right? He offers very, very beautiful prayers, right? So they can offer sacrifices by vacha, by their speech, right? Even by their intelligence, right? Indra is using all his resources in order to act on behalf of the Lord in various ways. He uses intelligence also. When it comes to Artha, we find that he was Chitraketu in his past life. Vritrasura was Chitraketu, and without any hesitation, he gave up the opulence. He gave up his opulence as the king of the Vidyadharas without the slightest hesitation. He was willing to sacrifice his position as king of the Vidyadharas. He felt that he had offended, yes, and that is why it's okay. It's okay to completely sacrifice this position. But when Indra offended his guru, Brihaspati, or he offended Vishwarup, he was not willing to give up his position. He was praying that may my position be retained, right? And in terms of Pranir, right, Vritrasura is willing to give up his body. Chitraketu immediately gave up his body. Indra is not only unwilling to give up his body, he wants others to give up their body, right? He is asking Dadyancha Rishi to give up his body. He is expecting Vritrasura to be killed, right? He wants others to give up their body so that his position can be maintained. So we can clearly see that in terms of sacrifices, there is a clear distinction between pure devotee and a non-devotee or a mixed devotee. Our aspiration, right? Our aspiration is to be a pure devotee, and that is why we are discussing, right? What is it that we have to aspire for? What is it that we have to aspire for? Two of the things that we have stressed on: one is envy, freedom from envy, and the other one is willingness to make sacrifices. Willingness to make sacrifices. In fact, if we think about it, everything that you have in devotional service today, it is actually a result of sacrifices of so many unlimited devotees. It is the devotees who have made personal sacrifices, pranir, arthir, dhiya, vacha, that is enabling us to have what we have today. I mean, if we take the example of this exalted book, Srimad Bhagavatam, if we simply consider what all sacrifices have gone into just making of Srimad Bhagavatam, first thing is, the Lord has enacted so many wonderful pastimes. The Lord has come. He has enacted so many pastimes. He has come in so many incarnations. He himself has enacted so many pastimes. We see Srimad Bhagavatam. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there are stories of so many exalted devotees. In our beautiful temple, we have the 12 Mahajanas, right? What is their life characterized by? The life of the 12 Mahajanas is actually characterized by the sacrifices they made in really extraordinary circumstances. In the most extraordinary circumstances, these 12 Mahajanas made extraordinary sacrifices. And it is not just these 12 Mahajanas, right? We see Vritrasura in this case, we see Vidura. There are so many people, right, who have made so many extraordinary sacrifices. So they made those sacrifices, which are a source of inspiration for us. In fact, it is so amazing that when Srila Prabhupada, he actually wanted to spread pure Krishna consciousness all over the world. And starting, right, and what he took with him to the West was actually the first canto. The first canto in 3 parts, in 3 volumes. That is what he took with him. So, right, because Srimad Bhagavatam, right, it is full of so much inspiration, right? It gives so much desire. When we read about all these wonderful devotees, it gives us so much desire to become pure devotees ourselves, right? So these devotees acted in a way. They made the sacrifices, right, which is included in Srimad Bhagavatam. And then Srila Vyasadeva, on the instructions of Narada Muni, he made such a big sacrifice. His whole life is a life of sacrifice, right? First compiling, separating one Veda, compiling it into the 4 Vedas, compiling the Mahabharata, all the Puranas. And when he was not satisfied, Narada Muni specifically instructed him to give Srimad Bhagavatam, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo Yato Bhakti Radhokshashi, Ahaituki, Apratyata, Yatma Suprasadati. Give one Purana, right, which specifically emphasizes pure, unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service. So that was the sacrifice of Srila Vyasadeva, that he gave us Srimad Bhagavatam. And then after Vyasadeva, so many acharyas have written so many commentaries. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he personally singled out Srimad Bhagavatam as Amala Purana. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, in order to give us pure devotional service, right, what all sacrifices he made. He was very happily engaging in Sankirtan with his choicest devotees. Every day they were engaging in Sankirtan. But just because they were engaging in Sankirtan, some people were becoming envious. They were engaging in wonderful Sankirtan all night long, and other people, they were becoming envious of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In order to save those people who were envious of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave up the association, right? He took sannyas. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took up sannyas just to save those people, right? So, we don't find any other incarnation, right, where at least I could not think of any other incarnation in which the Lord takes a beating upon himself, right, for the sake of his devotees. I could not think of any other incarnation. When Haridas Thakur was being beaten in 22 marketplaces, right, he was asked to stop chanting, and he said, I will not stop chanting even if my body is torn into hundreds of pieces. At that time, he was ordered to be beaten in 22 marketplaces. Haridas Thakur was praying for the people who were beating him, and because he was the greatest well-wisher of those who were beating him, the Lord could not kill the people who were beating him. So the Lord covered up Haridas Thakur with his own body. And the Lord actually later on showed hundreds of marks of beating upon his own body. So that is the sacrifice that the Lord has made. And then what to speak about the Goswamis? They made Srimad Bhagavatam their life and soul. How many commentaries have been written? Srila Sanatan Goswami has written commentaries. And not just one, right? Multiple commentaries. Then Srila Jiva Goswami, he has written books specifically to call out how Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the greatest authority, higher than any other authority. So what sacrifices our Goswamis have made. And then the next acharyas, they themselves went through so much tribulation. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and all, he came at a very turbulent time. But he wrote commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam, and he is giving us the essence of devotional service. And then what sacrifice Srila Prabhupada made? Suffering extreme poverty at one point, we all know Prabhupada used to go to the printer. Srila Prabhupada wanted to go to the West with Srimad Bhagavatam, and in order to print, he did not have money to print, right? So he would take it on loan, and in order to do proofreading and all, Srila Prabhupada would go without breakfast to the printer. He did not even have money for breakfast, but he would buy paper, he would struggle, right? He struggled to get paper. He would skip his own breakfast. There is one time in which Prabhupada did not even have a refill. He did not have paper to write. So he begged one person, you have a pen in your pocket, you give me the refill from your pen so that I can continue my writing, right? So that is the level of sacrifice that Srila Prabhupada made. And so for printing every single volume, Srila Prabhupada had to approach so many people to raise funds so that these volumes could be printed. Then to take Srimad Bhagavatam to the West. And out of humility, Srila Prabhupada says that I did not take Srimad Bhagavatam to the West. Srimad Bhagavatam went to the West, and I went with the Bhagavatam. So, how much suffering, how many sacrifices Srila Prabhupada made, enduring 3 heart attacks. And we can see that in the most difficult situation, what is Srila Prabhupada praying for? He is not praying for even good health, right? Even in that situation of a heart attack, he is not praying for that. Only thing he is praying to Krishna is, please make me a puppet. Please help them understand pure devotional service. Please make me a puppet. So, this is the sacrifice that Srila Prabhupada has made. And all the hundreds and thousands of devotees, right, who in scorching heat, in extreme cold, right, hour after hour, 12 hours, 14 hours, right, distributing Srimad Bhagavatam, right, distributing Srimad Bhagavatam so that Srimad Bhagavatam could be spread. So many devotees, they're having marathons for their paintings, so many devotees typesetting and all, right, and to this date, right, so many sacrifices that the devotees are making, right. So that is, and we cannot even glorify, right? We don't even know, right? For example, many people don't know, for example, who has created the indexes of Srimad Bhagavatam. Very wonderful devotee, Akshobhya Prabhu, right? He was a genius, right? How he sacrificed himself, right? So that we could have these indexes and this Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is just one aspect. If we think about any other aspect of devotional service, whether it is the holy name, what our acharyas have gone through so that we take holy name seriously, what our acharyas have gone through so that we take dhamvas, staying in the temple, staying in Mathura, staying, so that we can take that seriously, what all our devotees have undergone to give us deity worship. So any aspect of devotional service, if we see, it is completely based on the sacrifices of unlimited devotees, everything that we have. So the least that we can do as aspiring devotees is, first thing is, we can have gratitude for what we have received. We can have gratitude for what we have received. And in our own way, we can at least try to do something in whatever way we can to serve the mission. Right? We can at least do something according to our capacity, according to our, right? At least something we can try to do, right? Because so many sacrifices others have made, right? We can at least try to make some sacrifice for spreading this movement around, for taking this movement forward. So, now we have spoken many topics, right? Pure devotional service, very exalted nature of devotees, all of that, right? A person like me, right? What does this mean for me, right? My position, right, is worse than Indra's, right? What do I pray for, right? What is there in my heart, right? We are nowhere. I'm speaking about myself, right? I am nowhere, right? At the same time, our aspiration is pure devotional service, right? So what can we do, right? So that we can take adequate steps, right? We cannot immediately jump to pure devotional service, right? But we can take small steps towards pure devotional service, towards making some sacrifice, towards increasing our devotional service, right? These small steps, I just thought of making an acronym, I pray. So, these are like the small steps. We know the pastime of a small bird, right, who wanted to dry up an ocean, right? So, he cannot dry up the ocean, right, but the bird can take small steps. And when the Lord is pleased, right, then he can help us. So, what is I? I is introspection, right? We saw several aspects of pure devotional service versus mixed devotional service, right? So, we can introspect within our own heart. At least, I'm speaking for myself, right? What aspects of pure devotional service are missing from my heart? Where is it that I exhibit aspects of envy, aspects of refraining from making any kind of sacrifice? What is it that is impeding me? Right? I can do some introspection. That is I is for introspection. P is for pray. I can pray to the Lord. I don't have the right qualification, but please help me get the right qualification. Right? P is for pray. I is for introspection. P is pray. R is we can take some realistic steps. It's not just we just pray, right? Someday I will become devotee. I just pray, I just hope, right? We take some realistic steps. For example, if I want to serve the Lord by vacha, I want to serve the Lord by speaking, right? So we can do some introspection and figure out for how many hours I'm speaking in a week, what realistically I'm doing. Can I increase it by some amount, right? Can I speak something more in glorification of the Lord? In whatever aspect of devotional service we want to improve, we can think about some realistic goals. If I'm speaking once in 3 months, maybe I'll start speaking once in 1 month, something like that. And A is take association of pure devotees. Best way to develop desires is actually to take association of those who are enthusiastic, of those who are pure, taking association of pure devotees. So, and why is yearning, the longing, the desire that you spoke about. This yearning that someday I have hope, I want to become a pure devotee. I am not there today, but someday I want to be that. That will help us to again go through this cycle of introspection, prayer, taking the next steps, taking association over and over and over again, so that gradually we can take steps towards pure devotional service. And then, at least I'm speaking for myself, someday, right, in some lifetime, maybe a lifetime of Brahma, some lifetime of Brahma, right, then we have hope. But that is our aspiration, that someday we'll become a pure devotee. So I'll stop here. If there are any questions, corrections, comments. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for very wonderful, very deep and practical lecture. I have one small comment and one question. You mentioned that envy is the cause of all other anarthas. Actually, I didn't know this. Thank you so much. And I've heard also that all anarthas can be transformed, can be spiritualized, except the envy. Yes, so everything else exists in the spiritual world, but only envy does not exist in spiritual world. Yes, you also mentioned in the beginning that the only thing that soul does actually is desire.
Yes, Prabhu.
And you mentioned also desires at the end, how important they are.
Yes, Prabhu.
And I just I'm thinking how to understand in this level of purification.
Yes, Prabhu.
Because we can see that we have so many thoughts, so many emotions.
Yes, Prabhu.
Then you said the importance of will.
Yes, Prabhu.
And then you mentioned all these practical things that we can do and should do.
Yes, Prabhu.
Then how do we understand that we actually do not do anything and that we are only, that we can only desire?
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you very much for this wonderful question, Prabhu. Prabhu, if we look at the composition, we are actually, right, we have a body, this is this gross body, and then we have the subtle body, which is consisting of mind, intelligence, and false ego, right? And then there is a spiritual, spirit soul, right? All these different elements have their different functions. The only thing, so within our heart, there is Atma and there is Paramatma. So, the Upanishads describe them as two friendly birds, right, who are sitting within the same tree. One of the birds, the only thing that one Atma that we are doing is desiring. And the other bird is actually the best, dearmost, well-wishing friend of this bird. So what the Shastra says is, Nityo Nityanam, Chetanas Chetananam, Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. What the Shastras are saying is, we are eternal and the super soul is also eternal. Paramatma, he is also eternal. Nityo Nityanam, Chetanas Chetananam. We are conscious. And the super soul, Lord Shri Krishna, he is also conscious. Eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. He is the one individual living entity who is fulfilling the desires of all others. So the only thing that the soul actually does is desire. And because Paramatma, he is the dearmost well-wishing friend, he is the one who operates from the minutest thing, whether it is this body, it is the Paramatma who is actually operating this body. I can desire that my hand should go up. If the Paramatma sanctions, my hand will go up. If the Paramatma does not sanction, my hand will not go up. There may be paralysis or something, right? So, the only thing that actually the soul does is desire. Because of misconception, the soul is currently desiring happiness. It is the nature of the soul to enjoy, right? It is trying to get this enjoyment from outside, from matter and all. But when our desires are purified, then the same soul, it tries to get happiness, but in spiritual activities, in service to the Lord. I don't know if that answered, Prabhu, but that is my understanding. Any other comments? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. You spoke on two topics, I guess,
Yes,
envy and sacrifice.
Yes,
I
Prabhu.
want to combine both and ask the question.
Yes,
see
Prabhu.
how actually, Prabhuji, sacrificing one time is very easy, but sacrificing throughout continuously is difficult. So that is there. So therefore, but actually sacrificing one's ego is more difficult than sacrificing wealth, etc. So while when we have our own opinions, when we give up our opinion, because I am not a pure devotee, so envy is surely there. Therefore, I am not a pure devotee. So envy is there, and I am not able to give up my opinion. I say that, oh no, I am right. Then that means that envy increases. And other side, if I say that, okay, I give up my opinion, but still because I am not a pure devotee, I still have envy. I give up in a grudging mood my opinion because of force or whatever. So in both ways, that envy still is there. So, and it is not like a switch that if we switch off, okay, it's gone, or it's not a mental adjustment that, okay, my envy is gone, I think like that, so my envy is gone. So it's actually a reality that envy is still there, and I want to manage that giving up my opinion.
Yes, Prabhu.
So while doing that, how do I handle that where I cause minimum damage to myself and to others because envy is still there?
Prabhu, you perfectly know, Prabhu, and I should actually learn what all to do in that situation, in this situation. Just because you asked this question, Prabhu, one thing that I can say is, even in our methodology, Prabhu, it is tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshinaha. It is not that we simply accept something in a grudging mood. Right? If we see the conversation between Arjuna and Krishna, Arjuna did not accept anything from Krishna in a grudging mood. And Krishna, he was willing to explain it as well. So one thing is, we seek clarification. If there is a complete disconnect between what somebody wants us to do, for example, and what we think needs to be done, right? There can be a discussion, and this provision for a discussion is there. Another example that we get is from the life of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Madan Mohan Malviya, right? So he had approached Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur because he had questions, right? He had doubts about devotional service, right? And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur at that time, he was very busy. So he requested him to engage in some service, right? He associated with the devotees, engage in service. And when he did that, right, by the time he got some very nice service, I think it was DT, washing some DT paraphernalia and all. And when he engaged in that service, all his doubts were cleared. So these are the two things that we can do, Prabhu. One is we can actually seek clarification that I think, because you are also a pure devotee, right? You want to render service, right? There may be, usually the difference is because of details, right? Somebody wants to render service in one way, somebody wants to render service in some other way. But the values are the same. You also want to render service. You also want to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, please Srila Prabhupada. The other devotee may also want to do that. So once we agree that this is what we want to do, how best we do that, right, then we can have that discussion. What is the best way of doing that? And another thing is, in some cases, it's not that we always agree upon it. Somebody has to take the decision. So let's say somebody has taken the decision, right? Let's carry it along. Let's carry along with that decision. Either our heart will be transformed or it will be apparent why it was not the best thing to do. In either case, right, it could be beneficial for both the parties involved. So we can seek clarification and we can engage in services by which I think that over a period of time. Yes, so one thing is we can clarify our values, right? Both of us, all of us, right? We actually want to serve Srila Prabhupada in the best possible way, right? So how best we do that? Maybe we have discussions, maybe we engage, we try out something and then see how that goes. That is what I can think of, Prabhu. I don't know if that helps. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Avatari Chaitanya Prabhu, thank you so much for making that statement. Home means the people have no envy. It was very heart touching to hear that statement. Thank you so much. And Prabhupada has created that home everywhere.
Yes, Prabhu.
So only challenge is I am quite far from it, as Prabhuji was also mentioning. So I was thinking about Indra, because we did speak a lot about Indra. So I am just putting myself in shoes of Indra. Actually, if I see, then I don't see any devotional activity in Vitrasur. Rather, he is killing other devotees.
Yes, Prabhu.
And next chapter, like yesterday I was there in Kunj Bihari temple, where I heard what Vitrasura is speaking also.
Yes, Prabhu.
He is saying, I am going to kill you and
Yes,
all.
Prabhu.
And then he changes his thoughts to, okay, I will become free from debts.
Yes, Prabhu.
And then after that, his devotion is awakening.
Okay.
That's what Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was beautifully explaining. So actually, there is no symptom of any devotee in Vitrasur. So Indra's action appears to be quite pertinent in that sense. So how do we say that he means it's
nice.
inappropriate for him to act like that?
Very nice question, Prabhu. Very nice question. See, if a demon is attacking, right? Definitely it is the duty of the Kshatriya, in this case King Indra, right? Duty of the king, right, to fight against that demon. Question is, what caused that demon to attack, right? It is not starting, the whole pastime is not starting at that time, right? The whole episode happened because of offenses, right? So whatever situation we are in is actually the result of all of our past activities of Indra, and there are past activities of Dhritarashtra also. Neha Bikramana Shasti Pratyavayo na Vidyate Swalpam Apyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahatobayat. Whatever devotional service we have performed in the past, that is our permanent aspect. That is our permanent asset. In his past life, Dhritarashtra has performed so much devotional service, such wonderful devotional service, that is not lost. Because of the curse of Mother Parvati, it got covered over for some time. So, if we offend somebody, right, even if it is an inadvertent offense, right, our devotional service can get covered over for some time. So that is what happened with Dhritarashtra. But the Lord knows it very well, that what is in the heart of, Prabhu, let me just complete. Lord knows very well what is in the heart of that devotee. And at the right time, in the right situation, the Lord, actually, when we say that the Lord is constantly trying to fulfill our desires, the Lord is always making arrangements so that our desires are fulfilled. What was the desire of Indra? That he should regain the sovereignty, that he should continue with the sovereignty of the three worlds. Indra is also a devotee. So the Lord arranged for that. What is the desire of Dhritarashtra? The desire of Dhritarashtra or Chitraketu in his past life is to go back home, back to Godhead. So in this beautiful pastime, the Lord is making sure that that Indra goes through all that anxiety and suffering, right? Why? Because, right, his activities were like that, right? He had called up, right? If he has killed his guru, right, then it is natural that he has to, right, he should take up that suffering, right? So that is necessary for Indra, right? At the same time, for Dhritarashtra, who is a pure devotee, right? He was a pure devotee and he was covered up, right? It was actually the desire of the Lord that he get covered up so that the world sees. The very important point that is being made here is what the Lord actually sees, and what is actually the most important thing is the aspiration or the desire of that person. The desire of Dhritarashtra, because now he was in this circumstance, right? The circumstances are temporary, right? He was in this temporary circumstances wherein he had to act like a demon. But his desire was actually to go back home, back to Godhead. And he knew that once my life as a demon is over, I will immediately go back home, back to Godhead, right? Because that curse was only for that duration. So he was eager to be killed so that he goes back home, back to Godhead. And that is why, because of the nature of a demon, he had to act. Because of the curse of Mother Parvati, he was covered up for some duration. But as he continued with his fighting, right, immediately that was uncovered. And the Lord is predicting here, I know my devotee. Even if a devotee is covered up for some time, the Lord knows what is the heart of a devotee. And he says, he is my devotee. He is going to act in this particular way. So, he was temporarily covered, but his devotional assets remained. I don't know if that answered, Prabhu.
Because
Yes,
we are talking very much about Indra's side, but only Lord knew that he is a devotee. So,
Yes.
Indra also acted in the plan of Lord to glorify. So, Indra
Yes,
is
Prabhu.
also very glorious person.
Yes,
That's
Prabhu.
what I am feeling.
Yes, Prabhu.
Because
So, Prabhu,
it's
he
like
fights.
too much to say. If someone is killing all the devotees and I have to act,
Yes, Prabhu.
that's what he did actually.
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, so I have tried my best. I should have clarified it in the very beginning, right? No offense. There was no offense intended. See, it is about the whole discussion, and the whole point of this section of Srimad Bhagavatam is to distinguish pure devotional service from mixed devotional service, right? We never said, it is not, like I said now, it is not a fight between good and evil. It is the fight between best. Who is the best devotee? What is the heart of a best devotee? And what is in the heart of a mixed devotee? And what Srila Prabhupada has given us is actually the path of pure devotional service. Best possible devotional service. So, what we should be aspiring for is what is in the heart of Dhritarashtra. Not the external activities of Dhritarashtra, right? But what is in the heart of Dhritarashtra. So my understanding is that is the point of this pastime. I don't know if that clarified or that helped. Yes, in this particular situation, Indra was acting, he was doing the right thing, right? But he should not have killed Vishwarup to start with. Right? Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Any other thoughts, corrections? We'll stop here. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much for